my voice, but I have never seen anything like it.
Do you believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable.
Welcome to the Andrew Zimmel Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Andrew Zimmel. So this is going to be the sports-ish one of the two podcasts we put out. The other one, of course, every week we're going to try to put out a Television Tuesday podcast where we talk about the best shows that have come out over the weekend and what we need to be looking for as the week continues. And we're going to try to get some guests on for that one. But for this one, we go into the NBA and a big night in the NBA. So we're going to break down the three games that I think hold the most intrigue. These are the three games that I think the most people are going to be talking about going forward. Lakers at Celtics, Thunder at Rockets, Warriors at Trailblazers. All of those have a different storyline coming out of them. And then, of course, we set the table for Zion coming back tomorrow. And then, of course, at the very, very end of the podcast, we're doing the game of the night. But let's start with Celtics and Lakers. These two teams, when the season started, neither one of them, I don't think, was favored in their conference. I think if you asked any NBA fan, they would tell you that the Clippers are the favorite coming out of the West to start the season, and the Bucks were the favorite coming out of the East to start the season. But the Celtics and Lakers both have something in common. They both were projected to be a team that was going to be competing for that semifinals to Eastern Conference Finals area. If you look at the over-unders, if you look at all the stats, you would think that, okay, both of these teams are going to be competing for a chance to play in the finals, but I don't think a lot of people pick these two teams to be playing in the finals. That said, the games are played on the court, not on paper, and both of these teams have looked fantastic so far this year. The Lakers are a big team. They're a team that have about three starting centers. If you ask, around the league, they got JaVale McGee, Anthony Davis, and the resurgence of Dwight Howard. I don't think anybody thought that was going to work, and now he looks like a solid role player for the Lakers. So they are a very large team. They're a team that looks like they are built for the playoffs. Of course, with LeBron running the helm there. He now is in, I think, his 18th season. He's playing as good or better than I think he's played in the last 3 years. It's going to be interesting because I was talking to my friend about this, and I was telling him, like, hey, there's a couple guys, there's about a handful of guys in the league that if the playoffs are coming around the corner, you're about a month out of the playoffs, I say sit. Like, just sit out this month so that when the playoffs start, you're good to go. James Harden and Joel Embiid, of course, are my first two guys there. LeBron might be the third one. But it's going to be interesting if the Lakers aren't a secure top 3 seed, if they're playing for that 4-5 seed in the West, and you need to have that home court advantage, then LeBron's going to have to play, clearly. So, the Lakers are a very interesting team. The Celtics, they lose Kyrie Irving to start the season. Kemba Walker has been playing outstanding basketball. He's going to be an all-star. And then you look at the rest of the roster with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, both have big nights against the Lakers. They're both going to be all-stars as well. So you have 3 all-stars on this roster. This is coming off of an offseason where you lost Kyrie and you lost Al Horford. So the Celtics are another team that I think are coming. They're not a shock. Like, if you were going to make a surprise meter, they would not be above a 6 or 7 on the surprise meter, but I think they are a surprise. But what was surprising was how well the Celtics played to start this game. They come out and score 33 points in the first quarter and follow that up with 36 in the second quarter. And then they were able to hold the Lakers under 30 points all the way out after the first quarter. This defense that they have is a special one. Marcus Smart has turned into a guy recently, in the last couple games, has turned into a guy who I trust shooting threes. I could not say that at the beginning of the year. If you said to me, Zimmel, if Marcus Smart's taking 5.5 to 4.5 threes per game, how do you feel about that? I'd say I think that's a tad high. I wish that he would be shooting about 4 threes a game. I don't like that area where he gets kind of gung-ho and starts throwing balls thinking that they're going to go in. Recently, they have been going in, so I'm very happy with the way that he's been shooting. So, they come out, they end up beating the Lakers 139 to 107. Jaylen Brown has the dunk of the season so far for the Celtics, I think, with his dunk over LeBron James. This now makes 2 Celtics on this roster who have big dunks on LeBron. Jason Tatum in his rookie season in the Eastern Conference Finals, and then Jaylen Brown on a random Monday night game in January. So, does it matter? How do we look at this game in the grand scheme of things and say what matters? What do we care about out of this game? This is the biggest stat. Kemba Walker came into this game 0-28. He had not won a game against LeBron James in his NBA career, which is very hard to do, especially when you got load management, especially when you have games where nobody can hit anything, especially when you have games in the playoffs where crazy things happen. Kemba Walker has never beat LeBron James until after last night. Now, Kemba Walker has a 1 win over LeBron, and we can only hope, if you're a Celtics fan, you can only hope that this is a start of something special for him and that he can go get 4 more wins potentially in the finals. I don't put a ton of stock in this game. Random January game, you had a couple guys on the Lakers not shoot very well. You had Anthony Davis only taking 7 shots. LeBron shot the ball 12 times. Avery Bradley shot the ball 7 times. And for a team, they shot 26% from behind the arc. So I don't put a lot of stock in this. JaVale McGee was the leading scorer for the Lakers. So this is what you got to look at. If you look at the box score, if you just look at this game in a vacuum, you would think, okay, the Celtics feel like out of this game and a couple of games they've played against teams of caliber of the Lakers, this feels like a team that's going to make a deep, deep run in the playoffs. This feels like a team that is going to be challenging for the title. I agree with the second half of that. I think that they are going to be challenging for a title, but when we look at this game just in a vacuum, I think that we could buy too much into it. I don't want to put too much stock into this game. There's a couple of things I really liked out of the Celtics. I thought that Kemba Walker having the game that he did with 20 points. I thought Jaylen Brown with 20 points. Gordon Hayward with 16. Tatum with 27. Those are the type of numbers that you really like out of the Celtics team. Now, going forward, as time goes on, we're going to bring out some podcasts. We're going to try to get some guests on talking about free agency and what trades need to happen for these teams to compete. Right now, if you look at the Celtics, they're a team that I think is a piece away. And I think there's about 7 or 8 teams in the league who I think are a piece away from being the best versions of themselves. Like if this team is a B+ right now, they're a piece away to becoming an A- to an A. And I think that it's going to come down to moving some of the younger guys, and I'm not talking about Tatum or Brown. I'm talking about some of those younger draft picks that they had, Langford, Williams that they had last year. I would not be shocked if Cantor ends up getting moved at some point for some sort of rim protector, some sort of guy that can kind of play defense down low. Because it's an anomaly for Anthony Davis to play the way that he did, for LeBron to play the way that he did. And when you look at the rest of the Eastern Conference, the top 3 teams in the East, outside of the Celtics, you're thinking Heat, you're thinking 76ers, you're thinking Bucks. All those teams have a very dominant big man down low, or a very dominant paint game. So I think the Celtics need to go get somebody bigger body rim protector. I don't like Andre Drummond for the Celtics. I think that they need somebody that can score at least a little bit on his own. I think that they need to figure something out down low. But that was the game to start the night that I think a lot of us were saying, oh, this is big. Right, the Celtics blowing out the Lakers feels like a bigger deal than it actually is, and I think most of it's because it's Celtics and Lakers. I think this was the Mavericks and Lakers. I don't think anybody would really care that much, but because it's Celtics and Lakers, we have to put a big, to do about it. Let's move on to the next game of the night, and that was Thunder and Rockets. Yeah, so this game, very different outcome. The Rockets go up big. And they have been essentially the team that is getting the least amount of love in the Western Conference. And it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I think that if this was 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, this team would be on every single blog post and every single Twitter post. But because of the flameouts that have occurred in Houston, because of the lack of production that the Rockets have had in the playoffs, this is the team that we care the least about in the Western Conference when we talk about title contenders. When we talk title contenders, you're talking Clippers and Lakers, and the Rockets, for some reason, continue to get left out of that conversation. Nights like tonight are part of the reason why. So they come in, and they have a very good first half. They end up scoring about, 60 points in the first half. But the defense in the fourth quarter, and this has been a Mike D'Antoni problem since he was coaching in Phoenix, is that in the second half, especially the fourth quarter of big games, his teams can't play defense because everybody's so freaking tired. The roster carries, I want to say, like 12 to 13 guys. Most teams in January are running about an 8-man rotation. So you get your 5 starters and you sub about 3 guys out, 4 guys out. So you have a good flow of players coming in, players coming out. And especially for the Rockets, where they have 2 genuine superstars in Russell Westbrook and James Harden, you would think that, okay, what we're going to do as a Rockets franchise is that we're going to start this game with both of them on the court, and at the 5-minute mark, one of the 2 is going to sub out, and at the second quarter mark, one of the 2 is going to sub in, and we're just going to rotate them that way. And then the fourth quarter, both of them have gotten enough rest to be productive. Well, that didn't happen tonight, and the Rockets end up giving up 41 points in the fourth quarter to a Thunder team who has shocked a lot of people. I don't think anybody can say that they aren't surprised by the way that the Rockets have played. Tonight, like I mentioned with the Rockets, they had a 8-man rotation with Harden playing 39 minutes, Westbrook playing 38 minutes, and P.J. Tucker playing 41. If you think P.J. Tucker needs to be playing 41 minutes a night, you have not watched basketball in the last year. P.J. Tucker does not need to be playing 41 minutes a night, and Mike D'Antoni is going to, I should say, find a way to lose another hand at the proverbial poker table that is the NBA playoffs. These last couple seasons, I've given the Rockets, I've given the team a little bit of a pass. You shoot 0 of 27 from 3 in a Western Conference Finals game. That happens, right? That could happen to anybody. You can't beat the Warriors with Durant out. Okay, well, maybe, it's been fatigue and they haven't been able to really get on the same page. Well, this year, I thought should have been the reset. There's plenty of good young point guards in the league, or good young guards in the league, that you can put them in this rotation without not utilizing Westbrook or Harden. You can get another young guy in there to kind of take a little bit of the pressure off. Just bringing the ball up the court would be nice, but the fact that they have continued to run these guys into the ground is what's going to end up killing them in the long run. So Westbrook has 32, Harden's got 29 on 9 of 29 shooting. He shot 1 of 17 at one point in this game. I'm sorry, 1 of 17 from 3, I should say. He shot 13 free throws, so that's nice. But point standing, that the Rockets, I think, found another way to lose a game. And this isn't, again, like we talked about the Celtics and Lakers. We can't put too much stock into these games, being that it is the middle January, and there's a lot of time left, and there's still a lot of moves to be made. But if you're a Rockets fan, all the signs are pointing towards this is going to be another flame out. This is going to be another bad year. And to add insult to injury, Chris Paul, the player that you traded for Russell Westbrook, to go bring Westbrook in, you get rid of Chris Paul, a guy that has, from my point of view, has done a lot of really good things in the playoffs. He personally, I don't blame for a lot of the flameouts that his teams have had. He has 28 points, 28 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, and he had a plus-minus of 17. So when he was on the court, the Thunder were winning by 17 points. So, plus-minus, kind of a tricky stat. Sometimes it matters a lot. Sometimes it doesn't matter at all. In this game, I think it's a really good point to make. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who has been another phenomenal young player in the league, another guy that we think is going to make leaps and bounds going forward, he had 13, and he played 39 minutes as well. So, what does this all mean? What this means to me is that the Rockets are going to continue. They need to figure something out. Right now, if you look at the Western Conference standings, the Rockets have essentially moved from what looked like they were jockeying for a second or third spot in the West to now being at 6. You look at the rest of the Western Conference, and this is, again, kind of sketchy right now. The Lakers are 1, Nuggets 2, Jazz 3, Clippers 4, Mavericks 5, Rockets 6, Oklahoma City 7, and Memphis 8. The Spurs are on the outside looking in. So I think that when we look at the way that these teams are going to start jockeying for position in February and March, that the Rockets have to figure this out. Otherwise, they're going to be a team that is not going to have home court advantage. And right now, they face off against the Utah Jazz in the first round of the playoffs. So the playoffs started today. They played the Utah Jazz. I like the Jazz in that game just because of the way that D'Antoni has been playing these guys. So the Chris Paul revenge game is a real thing. I really liked the way that he handled himself tonight. I thought he had a really good game. Let's get to the game of the night, or the box score of the night, we should say, was Damian Lillard, who playing the abysmal Golden State Warriors. Somebody made a joke on Twitter that I saw before I got on the podcast, and it was saying that if you had a 8-month coma and you missed the last 8 months of NBA basketball, and Kevin Harlan came on your TV and said that the Warriors were the worst team in the Western Conference, you would think that this was the bizarro world. Well, they are. They're 10-35. They are 3-20 away from the Chase Center. And the Trailblazers still need overtime to beat this team. And that, to me, should be more of an indication on where this team is because of the really good box score that Lillard was able to put up tonight. He had 61 points on 16-16 shooting from the free throw line, 11-20 from behind the arc. Because he had this incredible shooting night for the Trailblazers, they go into overtime. They end up winning. They beat the Warriors 129-124. This matters a lot for you Tuesday morning as you're listening to this, because this is a team, the Trailblazers, who we thought was going to be a team that was going to make the playoffs. And now you look at, and I read off the teams earlier, that Memphis is in there, Utah is contending for a high seed, and the third best player on this Trailblazers team is Carmelo Anthony, a 35-year-old washed-up vet. The Trailblazers season is not going the way that they wanted it to this year. And nobody really can point any fingers because it's just been weird situation after weird situation. You look at the lineup that they ran out there tonight. They got Hassan Whiteside going out having a 17-21 game. And again, the Warriors are not good. I need to reiterate that. The Warriors are not a good team, and it still took this team into overtime to win. What does this mean for Damian Lillard? What does this mean for the Trailblazers? Maybe this is the thing that kickstarts them. Maybe this is the thing. They're sitting at 19-26 right now for the year. Maybe this is the thing that kickstarts them. They get to 500 by the All-Star break. They make a little bit of run. Maybe they make a move. Maybe get rid of C.J. McCollum, who sat out tonight with a left ankle sprain. You bring in another piece. I don't know what you can get for CJ, and I don't know if you really want to break up that backcourt. But if you're looking around the league, especially the Western Conference, and you're seeing that, the Clippers are pretty much securing where they are. They need to make about one more move too, I think. The Lakers, they look pretty secure in their roster. The Jazz have kind of figured things out with Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert. Even the Nuggets, with Michael Porter Jr. coming off the bench and being a sixth man and just being incredible. And we're going to bring on a Nuggets writer to talk about Michael Porter Jr. Later down the road. But this has been he's had an incredible year this year. So all these other teams, I think, are kind of figuring it out. And there's teams like the Trailblazers with Damian Lillard, a bona fide superstar. Teams like the Spurs, who kind of have a bunch of misfit pieces that really aren't clicking together. It's those things. It's weird. It's going to be a weird postseason if the Trailblazers with Dame Lillard and the Spurs are both out in the playoffs. So it's going to be interesting. Let's talk about what happens tomorrow night before we talk about what happens tonight. So tomorrow night, the highly anticipated debut of arguably the most exciting high school basketball player in my lifetime. I think Zion Williamson at Duke last year was probably the most exciting college basketball player in a generation. I can't think. Maybe Patrick Ewing in the 80s. Maybe Akeem. Maybe Jordan. But those are the type of players that he's in the conversation with when we talk about just exciting, electric college basketball players. And he's been a guy that I've had on my radar since I was 15, or I should say since he was 15, when he was making these House of Highlights mixtapes. And he has had an incredible amateur career. But now when the professional career starts, he has that knee injury. They're kind of trying to figure that out. They wanted to kind of bring him back slowly. He looks a little bit out of shape from every video and every conference that we've seen of him. We've seen him dunk the ball, and he's kind of getting into playing shape. But I'm worried that he's going to have to play his way into shape, and that I don't think is what you really want to look for when you look at a young rookie. I think that you're going to want a little bit, more discipline. It's his rookie year, so we'll see what happens. And Ja Morant, I think, has run away with Rookie of the Year. I don't think there's any way that Zion, unless he comes in and averages a triple-double and like 6 dunks a game, I don't think there's any way that he closes that gap and is able to surpass Ja Morant for Rookie of the Year. So if I'm the Pelicans, they're not a very good team. Brandon Ingram looks really good. Lonzo Ball has had his flashes. Hayes has played pretty well for him. I would be more intrigued with, play Zion once a week or twice a week, but let's not try to run this kid in the ground. Let's kind of just see what we have out of him and bring him back real slowly. So his highly anticipated debut comes tomorrow night. Tonight, however, they have a very, very interesting game on NBA TV, a game that I'm 100% going to be watching, and I'm probably going to talk about it at some point on the podcast, because this is a game between two potential, like we mentioned with the Celtics and Lakers, this is two potential finals teams. This is a Western Conference Finals matchup that I see. And Dallas and the Los Angeles Clippers that's a game that potentially could have 4 All-Stars, maybe 3 All-Stars for sure, maybe 4 All-Stars, depending on if Kristaps gets in. But you look at this roster for the Mavericks, and you say to yourself, how did anybody not get Luka Doncic in that draft? How did the Phoenix Suns, the Kings, and the Hawks all pass on this guy? And, to be fair, if Luka was like a 14th overall pick, and we were like 13 teams passed on this guy, that's incredible. Like, this is a, human rights violation. Then we would have a bigger case. But the fact that 3 teams passed on him is still NBA lunacy. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And the roster that they've put together around him, I really like those guys. They kind of feel like the bad news bears almost. It feels like, and again, Luka is just he's a really special talent, and you can't take anything away from him. And the role players that they have put around him work right now, but I think that you're going to see a better version of this type of team in the next 3 years, where they're able to get better pieces to put around him. Seth Curry's fine, Brunson's good, but they need to find a little bit better pieces to put around Luka. The Clippers, I don't think anybody's going to sit out tonight. I think that Kawhi is going to play tonight. If he doesn't play, I would say, okay, the Mavericks are going to run away with this one. If he does play, then we're going to have a very, very, very good night of NBA basketball. Last thing before we go, Delonte West was trending on Twitter. I don't really want to get into it too much because I don't think it's that big of a story. He was seen on the street as he looked disheveled, homeless. He's known to have mental health issues for the last, I want to say, 5 years, 6 years. But, anytime anything like this trends on Twitter, people will really get up in arms and, okay, this is going to be our 15 seconds of, activism, and the NBA needs to do a better job with, players' mental health and all this type of stuff. I'm not really buying it. I think that Delonte West has had opportunities in the past to seek help. I think he will have opportunities in the future to seek help. But it's up to him to get that help. There's nothing that anybody can do to guide him to get him to that point, to go get him the help that he needs. If somebody wants to, if somebody says, okay, this is the charity case that I have been waiting for, then yeah, go ahead. But I think that he's had opportunities in the past. NBA teams have given him the opportunity in the past. And Adam Silver has done a very good job, in my opinion, of setting up some of these guys and really focusing on players' mental health as much or more than he's cared about players' health. He got rid of the 4 games in 5 nights, and now I think he's caring a little bit more about how Kevin Durant and DeMar DeRozan and Kevin Love, none of those guys seem happy. 2 of those guys have talked about their mental health. I think that Adam Silver's doing a really good job. So, does the NBA need to do more? Everybody can do more, but I think that they're doing a really good job right now for what they are. So that's going to do it for the show. Thank you so much for listening to the Andrew Zimmel podcast. We got a lot of really good feedback on that first 6 episodes that we put out yesterday. I know that we should have tried to get those out a little bit sooner for you guys, but hopefully you like them. Hopefully you enjoyed the content that you heard. If you do enjoy the content that you hear, please send it to your friends. Continue to move the pace forward. Let's continue to get this get these streams going, because that's the only way that we really can grow this podcast, is with the help of you guys. I can only do so much on my end, and hopefully you enjoy it. So thank you so much again for listening. Love you guys. Peace out.